Alright, people, do you hate reading? Does reading give you the rage of 10,000 men? Or does reading make you like this little guy? But you still want to know the Ultrakill lore? Well, that's where I come in. Today I'll be explaining the entire lore of Ultrakill. And yes, I know this has been done by better YouTubers. But that was a while ago, and that lore is a little bit out of date. So I'm going to come in there and just try and scoop up all the views before Pyrocical takes them off. Okay, so the Great War is a pretty big deal when it comes to the lore of Ultrakill, because it introduces the first blood-fueled machines of war. These machines are known as the Guttermen. When the Guttermen were first created, there was no way to keep the blood fresh, so a living human was welded into the Guttermen and kept alive with a minor amount of life support. This cruel act would go on to aspire heaven to turning people into the mannequins. These Guttermen were deployed in trenches to force people to either get crushed by the Guttermen or mowed down by machine gun fire by people on the outside of the trenches. The creation of this machine sets a domino effect that makes it so people are making other machines to counter the last one. With the creation of the Guttermen, the armies of the world scrambled to make more and more machines that meant to counter the last one. With this new era of warfare, humans were all sent home because of their inability to compete with the new machines. Sadly, there wasn't much of home left because all of the resources were sent to make new machines. During this craze to make new machines of war, the Germans decided to use the old Guttermen that were outclassed incredibly fast to create a new invention, the Gutter tanks. It said that these Gutter tanks brought an end to the trench war era on the final war. The 1000 THR Earthmover is the pinnacle of machines. These weapons of war run on solar and blood. These machines were relied upon to fight wars for many years. This warfare would end up destroying the planet and force all humans to move into the Earthmovers to continue. Eventually, all of the smoke and soot would blot out the sun. This is known as the Long Dark. Without being able to get solar power, all of the Earthmovers would eventually shut down. With all the Earthmovers shutting down, this pushed humanity into the Great Peace. But the Earthmovers weren't the last machines ever made. That would be the prototype robots V1 and V2. V1 was made during the end of the Great War and was probably meant to destroy Earthmovers. As you probably know, V1 can absorb blood through its skin. This does have a few drawbacks though, making so that V1 has a relatively thin armor. V1 wasn't put into mass production due to the end of the Great War. V2 on the other hand was created during the Great Peace and is designed to be a tank. He has far thicker armor with the drawback of not being able to heal by absorbing blood. But V2 wasn't put into mass production due to the fall of humanity. Shortly after the end of the Great War, humanity discovered the mouth of hell. With this discovery, humanity decides to build into hell and excavate some kind of material. During this, the street cleaners, which were originally used to purify the air of cities, and sentries, which were originally machines of war, are sent into hell and used as scouts to report back. This was very dangerous due to hell, the organism, using humans as a plaything. No, not like that, you sick fuck. Hell was known for making humans fight for its own entertainment. With all of the blood-fueled machines going around, I don't think anyone's surprised that they destroyed humanity. The machines weren't really on each other's side. They were all really just trying to do whatever it takes to get as much fresh blood as possible, so they probably attacked each other as well. After the death of humanity, machines were left with really two options. Number 1, stay up on the surface and kill the other machines for more blood. Or number 2, venture into hell and get more blood. V1 actually does decide to stay up on the surface for some time. This is shown because the Source machine has had enough time to transform its look. After that, well, V1 enters hell. So, a long time ago, God made hell and gave it sentience. And well, a few million years later, God is starting to regret that decision. This guilt lays on God's mind for years and years until he can't take it anymore, and abandons everything and runs away like a little bitch. This puts the council, which is filled by a bunch of angels, to take over heaven and begins running it. And they try to preach God's light. In hell, Bino, seeing the power gap, decides to stop the torment of the people of lust. This event is known as the Lust Renaissance. the lusted layer starts to build towns and cities under the guidance of King Minos. The council, seeing this, are angry and believe it goes against God's will. The council eventually comes to the decision to send Gabriel to go to kill Minos and take his title as the Judge of Hell. Minos doesn't fight back against Gabriel, but instead pleads with him to see reason. Sadly, his words fall on deaf ears as Gabriel cuts Minos down without mercy, then takes Minos' body and floods it full of parasites. These parasites take control of the husk that once was King Minos, and begins destroying the once flourishing cities of lust.
Minos wasn't the only one that saw opportunity in the absence of a father. King Sisyphus' punishment was to carry up a boulder up a hill, as in the original myth. Sisyphus was completely undeterred and bided his time for thousands of years. When God disappeared, Sisyphus gathered his insurrectionists and launched a full-scale attack on heaven. Sadly, Sisyphus was too good of a leader, and all of his soldiers grew dependent on him. Seeing this flaw in Sisyphus' army, Gabriel the angel led an assault with the sole goal to kill the king. This assault is successful, and Gabriel managed to behead Sisyphus, and he held it up high for all of his army to see. The insurrectionist morale was destroyed. With this one move, the rest of the war became a mere formality, and heaven crushed it. Gabriel chose not to kill the insurrectionists, but rather mutilate their bodies, leaving them with only the things needed to survive. The insurrection was doomed to fail from the beginning, and King Sisyphus knew this, but in his eyes, resistance in an unwinnable battle was the ultimate victory.
Okay, back to V1. When we first enter Hell, we find a place that humanity was mining some kind of material, and using this as a home base. And here we find the first demon of the game, the Malicious Face. The Malicious Faces have mastered using Hell energy as a weapon. We also find the Sword Machine. The Sword Machine is a hoarder at heart and has rebuilt himself from the ground up. This hoarding mentality and combat prowess has spawned a small group of Sword Machine enthusiasts and has encouraged copycats. Finally, V1 finds itself at the gates of Hell and fights two lesser demons, the Cerberi. These Cerberi hold balls of pure energy and say that it takes a lot of energy and is most likely a display of power used to scare off intruders. Of course, V1 is undeterred as he rends them apart and enters Hell. I'm pretty sure you know what's going to happen next, so I'm just going to rapid fire through each of the layers. Alright, so I'm going to be rather brief when it comes to this, but punishment for Limbo is complete isolation. Most of the people here are a little bit too good for damnation, but are too evil for salvation. Everything in this layer is fake and is meant to be like a really shitty version of paradise. The angels also give the people of this layer the keys to go deeper into Hell and seek some other kind of punishment. The lust layer is for people that have their lives completely filled with lust. The punishment in this layer is people being pushed around with strong winds. This is meant to represent the carefree lifestyle these people live. From what we can see of the lust that's covered in cities and with the infected corpse of King Minos towering over it, destroying the lands. Okay, so gluttony is for people that would overindulge in food. Their punishment is to be bored to death forever. Honestly, depending on what kind of person you are, this might not be that bad. This has been changed from the original myth. In Dante's Inferno, the punishment for gluttony is to drown in cold mud. As you know, this is inside of the corpse of King Minos. So, his soul is in there somewhere, which we're going to give that its own segment. Okay, so I think this serves its own segment because of how much I need to talk about for this to make sense. Okay, so if someone has an incredibly strong willpower and is known far and wide, when they die in Hell, they have a chance of being turned into a Prime Soul. These Prime Souls are considered a massive threat by the Council, and they do whatever it takes to stop them from forming. So seeing that after Gabriel killed Minos, they took a soul and trapped it inside of the flesh prison before it could start forming. This flesh prison was imbued with divine and hell power to make it as impenetrable as possible. Of course, Minos isn't the only Prime Soul. There's also Sisyphus. Unlike Minos, Sisyphus' soul had already been forming into a Prime Soul when he was in prison into the flesh panopticon, meaning that if someone were to awaken him, he would be able to escape. But the flesh panopticon wasn't made just to watch over Sisyphus. Oh no. It was also made over to watch his army as well. Sadly, this feature was never put into use. Alright people, So, I'm sorry if I got any of the lore incorrectly here. I'm not super well versed. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I have like 50 something hours in Ultrakill, and I've read all the terminals and read the wiki. But I'm not like some person that's been playing since beta and just knows everything. So if I'm wrong, I would like to apologize. Also, about my last Ultrakill video, thank you for all the comments when it comes to editing and stuff like that. That's really nice. I've taken a lot of that into account, tried to fix some of the audio issues, stuff like that. I think that they were really helpful. Some more than others, I'll be honest. But yeah, I will be honest, I could have been less mean to the high school DxD guy, but you know. I've watched the show too. Only degenerates watch that show, I'm gonna be honest.